Welcome back to Dirty Barry. Today, it's Toyota time. My classic Toyota has developed a slight leak on the rear axle. I'm going to replace the shaft seals. In the next video, I hope to get back to my proper machining projects, but this will do for now. So here's the car in question. We have just a slight leakage on the rear right wheel axle. So I just have to jack the car up, take the wheel off, undo the bolts holding the axle shaft in, and then we can take the old axle seal out, put the new one in, and we should be good to go. So here's the assortment of tools required for the job. A couple of axle stands to hold the vehicle up, the jack to lift the vehicle, an impact wrench or just a breaker bar with a 21mm socket for the lug nuts, a ratchet with a 14mm socket, and also a 14mm spanner in case you need to get into a tight area. A couple of tools for prying out the old seal, a rubber mallet for hammering the new seal in, and we also have a torque wrench for tightening the lug nuts at the end. It's a very simple job. We probably will also put a smear of sealant around the outside of the seal in case the housing has been damaged in the past from previous seal replacements. So we'll get to work now. So now that we have access to the axle shaft, we can find that we have these two holes on the shaft that allow us access to the 4 retaining nuts. So we have to rotate between angles. So I'll undo those and then we will continue. So I've removed the retaining nuts, so now the axle should just pop out. This may not be easy if it's never been removed before, or if there's a lot of silicone holding the axle retaining plate on, but we'll just give it a try. Otherwise you might need to use a slide handle. There we go. Now we've got it out. Not sure if you can see, but there is evidence of oil having made it past the seal in there. So I'm going to clean the surface up as best I can. I'm going to pull the old seal out, and we'll assess the situation and put a new seal in. Managed to pry the old seal out using the pliers. That obviously damaged the seal, and you have to be very careful not to damage the housing further than it is. But that's all out now, so I'll continue cleaning, and I will inspect the housing for any damage and try to rectify it, and then we can reassemble. So you can see there is a little scratch right at the bottom of the shaft or housing. So I believe this is where the oil's been seeping past. So I'm going to try and level this off slightly with a little bit of sanding, and then I'm going to have to just apply a bit of sealant around the new seal, because the new seal is obviously a genuine replacement and it has a steel cage around the outside. So we're about ready to put the system all back together. So one thing to note with the retainer is it does matter which way around it goes on the vehicle. This side should be on the bottom, as this is where any overflow that gets past the seal can drain out, so it doesn't go onto your brakes, because there is a matching hole over here on the back of your brake backing pad. So I've also checked the condition of the wheel bearing, and that's all still perfect. So oil is obviously just seeping around the outside of the wheel bearing instead of going through the seal. Right, upon placing the axle into the housing, I just realised that this one is the wrong one for this side of the car, as evidenced by this retainer plate has the bulge on the opposite side, so I need to pull the axle out of the opposite side of the car now and swap them over. This must have happened quite a long time ago, because I haven't had the axles out for a few years. So it's all back together now, the axles swapped from side to side. So what I've done now is I've put them in gear. Just going to check the preload on the LSD to make sure it hasn't worn out too much. Yep, it's got still a reasonable amount of preload. I believe it's around about 80 Newton meters. I'll have to go and check online for the actual specifics. but I'm happy